Real quick, the only ask I could ever have of you guys is to help spread the word so we can help more women lose body fat, build muscle, reach their goals, and feel insanely confident. And the only way we can do that is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing I ask for you to do is if you could leave a review. It will take you 10 seconds. And it will mean the absolute world to me and may change the world of someone else. I was doing a cardio every single day. I was weightlifting every single day. And I was like, if I didn't complete every single exercise in the set and rep scheme as prescribed, I was a complete failure. What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Macro Hour with Nikki Stott, co-founder of WarriorBabe. And on this podcast, we talk about mindset, methodologies, and tactics that will help you lose body fat, build muscle, be strong, and feel insanely confident. I am your host, Nikki Stott, and welcome to today's episode 103, where we're going to talk about the all or nothing mindset when it comes to fitness, which thank you to one of my IG people. I posted on my story the other day to give me some topics that I can elaborate on this podcast, because hearing what you guys want to hear is really helpful so that I can present it here. And I always ask for those topics to be worthy of long conversations. And I think this is definitely worthy of a long conversation. And when I first saw this pop up in the little the Q&A or whatever box on my IG story, I was like, damn, this I can really elaborate on this topic, because I feel like I lived that all or nothing mindset when I was bodybuilding. So if you guys haven't listened to the first episode of this whole podcast, I would highly recommend it, because I share my entire journey in that episode. And a little bit of my journey, I've been doing this for 8 years now. And my journey consisted of starting out in the bodybuilding world. Back in 2015, I committed to doing my first bodybuilding competition later on in the year in November. Holy cow, I think it's been almost 8 years to this day. But I committed to doing that. And down that road of the next 3 years, I truly did live this all or nothing mindset. So I want to share that story a little bit more and kind of connect the dots as I talk about this mentality throughout this podcast today. There's some good aspects to it. There's pros to it. There's cons to it. I'm going to talk about how it manifests in the fitness arena, how it shows up, and maybe it's showing up for you. And I want to provide some solutions, of course, from what I've learned through my own journey, but also just solutions in general, so that you can maybe see where this is happening for you and try and fix it so that you're not in this all or nothing mentality, because it can be a very challenging mentality to be stuck in, and also feel like, you have to be this one way, when I felt the same way for 3 years. But, there is the other side of that mentality where you can live in balance, you can have a sustainable approach, you can really incorporate the lifestyle that you want and still be healthy and still get the results that you want, not having that mentality. So with all that being said, let's dive into today's podcast. First, I want to just talk about the definition of an all or nothing mindset. It's known as that black or white thinking. And it's this distortion in individuals that makes those individuals perceive situations in extremes, right? Something is either entirely perfect or it's a complete failure. And there's no middle ground. There's no shades of gray. And how this could manifest here in just in the definition terms, there's key characteristics that would define this a little bit deeper into this mindset. A few of them are binary thinking. So situations that are viewed either or scenarios without recognizing a spectrum of possibilities, right? For instance, you either follow your diet extremely strict, or you slip and you see yourself as having completely fallen off the wagon, right? Or then there's a perfectionism. There's often a drive for being perfect, which can lead to setting unattainably high standards for yourself. And if those standards aren't met, then it can lead to feelings of that you're a failure, or just leading to feelings of self-doubt, or leading to feelings of like, oh, well, I'm never going to be able to stick to this diet or this plan because I messed up, this one day out of like the whole year. Like that's an extreme, right? Or feeling like there's inflexibility, right? There's little to no room for flexibility or adjusting expectations based on like a circumstance, right? You have an injury. Well, how am I supposed to work through this injury, rather than just accepting that you have an injury? Or my husband ended up in the hospital, but I need to go work out, right? Like that's an extreme thinking. Like you feel like there's no flexibility, or like to adjusting your expectations that you have for yourself and following this plan based off of a circumstance or life that happens, right? You feel like you have to you have to be 100% perfect in the plan that you're following if life happens. And that can result in like the inability to adapt to change or unexpected situations that are going to happen in your life. And so having this like all or nothing mentality, like if you fall into those 3 buckets, right? Binary thinking, there's either or situations, right? You either follow this diet or you're a complete failure, or you have a perfectionism mindset where you have entirely high standards for yourself. And if they're not met, then you have feelings of failure or self-doubt, or like inflexibility. If life happens, which it does, you get injured, you get sick, your husband ends up, or a family member ends up getting sick or having to have surgery or something, or life happens, right? Then like you can't adapt to that change or those unexpected situations. So that's like an all or nothing mindset, right? And so let me pull it back into my world of bodybuilding. For the first 7 months of my journey, I literally lived this all or nothing mentality that I had to follow this X diet in order to get this X result when I stepped on stage. And I thought that I had to follow it exactly to a T, which I did throughout those 7 months. I think I maybe messed up 1 or 2 times because I went to a wedding and I felt like a pure failure at that point, because I was like 3 or 4 weeks out from this show, from this end point. And I was so entirely drained. I was exhausted. I was starving, and I was at this wedding and I said, fuck it. Right. This is like an all or nothing mentality. I had every sense of completely failing and falling off the wagon. I had a self-doubt of like, well, great, now this happened, so when I step on stage, I'm not going to win because this happened. And it was a wedding. Life happened, right? So I had this feeling of like, I cannot adapt to this wedding or this like situation that I'd never been in for the last 6 months. So I fell off. I wasn't able to adjust my expectations, where I like that wedding, like after winning the show and going to compete, that wedding did nothing. It was like a small bump in the road. So like for me, like I followed that diet to the T, right? And I messed up maybe another time earlier on because I was measuring my rice wrong. And I was like, God damn, I'm a failure, right? I truly lived in this all or nothing. If I don't follow this plan to a T, if I don't work out, the 6 days a week leading up to the show, I was doing 7 days a week. I was doing a cardio every single day. I was weightlifting every single day. And I was like, if I don't follow this down to you guys, this is how extreme my all or nothing mindset got. Down to the fact that if I didn't complete every single exercise in the set and rep scheme as prescribed, I was a complete failure. I wasn't being perfect. I couldn't adapt to like if there was a day that I wasn't able to do that because of time, that I had no flexibility in just like adapting to that change and like letting myself know that would be okay. That is how I lived for the first 7 months. And then it continued on, because after my first show, when I gained back all of this weight, 25 pounds in 1 month, I was entirely uncomfortable. And I was like, the only way that I know how to get this body is by doing exactly what I just did previously for the last 7 months. So then I dove into competing again. And then I competed in 2016. And that all or nothing mentality just continued and it continued and it continued. And so I want to dive into a few of the pros and cons, right? Because some of you guys can probably relate with me on that. Like and I'm going to dive into how this may manifest in a broad sense to you guys in fitness. So let me just dive into the pros and cons really quick. The pros, which I look back at my journey and I do love many aspects of the things that I held myself to, the standards I held myself to, the commitments I held myself to, the intense focus I held myself to, the discipline that I built for myself. I love those aspects because I built that going through that journey for myself, which I know that I probably wouldn't have built it elsewhere. Or maybe I could have, but this was just something that I was put to the test with and I challenged myself with. And so throughout my journey, I knew that I had a goal. So I kept that commitment to the goal, right? Like it is surrounded an all or nothing mindset, but I still kept my commitment to that goal. I held myself to very high standards. I had intense focus throughout that entire journey where it was like tunnel vision to this one day that I had committed myself to. I can easily pull those things that I did there and apply it to my life now and how I do it in work and how I do it in some of my training, which is way more flexible to this day. But like I still have these standards and expectations and commitments for myself. And, you know, when I commit to something and I say that I'm going to do something, I do have this intense focus. However, there's so much more leeway for myself in the balanced approach that I have nowadays. I'm going to share that when I get down to like the solution aspect of things. But I really am proud of myself for those pros of this all or nothing mindset that I did create for myself because they trickle effect into like every aspect of my life. The cons, which I kind of already touched on, is the lack of flexibility. Like there's just an immense increased stress. There's the potential for burnout. Guys, I remember at one point in my journey, I was maybe like 6 weeks, 8 weeks out of my show. And I remember I was on the laying hamstring curl doing my workout and my mom is upstairs running on the treadmill and I see her come down the stairs. I see her walking towards me and I just start freaking bawling my eyes out. I'm like, this is so freaking hard, Mom. And like, it was like a comfortability of like seeing somebody that I knew and knowing that she's like my safe space and I could be vulnerable with her in the moment. And like, I just lost it. I just started bawling. I'm like, this is and I was just so stuck in that. I wouldn't allow myself to have flexibility. I wouldn't allow myself when I need a rest to have rest, which I'm going to talk about in a second. I wouldn't allow myself to deviate from the plan. So much so, like I said, like every set, every rep, everything to a T was completely done to the plan. And yeah, that happened. I had burnout. Like I looked at her and I just started bawling. And then there was, you know, there's just always with that, there's a high risk of quitting when you have those minor setbacks. That didn't happen, but a lot of people may experience that with this type of mentality that if you have a setback, you quit, right? And I'm going to talk about that with like the all-in trend diets, the quick fixes. Like if you deviate from that plan, you end up quitting. And it's just like a day or two that you deviated from the plan, right? So those are the pros and the cons of this all or nothing mentality. And I do, you know, appreciate the pros, but like there are the cons that come with it. There's so much increased stress to having to do this plan 110%. And then like throughout, you know, I'm going to talk about this with social life, but like my social life in that first 7 months, like was trying to figure out like my friends are here, but they live this lifestyle and like I want to live this lifestyle, but they don't align with that. And so like I need to like distance myself from that because if I do that, then I'm all out of my goals and I'm not staying true to myself. And, you know, then they're drinking and then I can't drink because I can't have alcohol on this night. You guys, like reflecting upon this. And like, I really hope that this, because I'm going to get down to like, you know, the solutions and how I experience just total sustainability in my just whole lifestyle now. But like, you know, if this resonates with you, know that there's like the other side. There is the other side of this all or nothing mentality. And you can truly like live a balanced approach and like, you know, allow yourself to mess up, learn from the mess up, and then like just continue on because it's like, if you're consistent majority of the time, which allows for errors, then you will still get to the goals that you want, okay? You just need to be consistent majority of the time. You don't need to be perfect, okay? Perfect and consistency are two different things. You just need to stay consistent. And then if you're doing that majority of the time and all of the actions that you take are the actions towards your future self, you will get the results that you want, okay? Hey, just want to drop a huge appreciation to you guys listening to the show. It means a lot. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and there's so much more to come with it. If you are enjoying it, hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate that tons. And also, it would help this podcast reach others who need to hear these messages too. Now, that's a little bit of my story mixed in with like what I experienced. Now I want to talk a little bit about like how this may manifest for you inside of your fitness routine. So one, being a fitness routine, following a rigid exercise plan. So if you feel compelled to follow a strict workout schedule without allowing yourself for rest or recovery days, this can deem you to, if you miss a day, then you feel like the whole workout routine is ruined, which can lead you to giving up entirely, right? So you probably maybe have experienced that. For my first 7 months, I followed it to a T every single day and I didn't miss a day. And then coming out of that, the following weeks after my show, where I tried to play around with not doing it perfectly, I experienced who am I? This is not who I am. Like, I follow everything to a T. I have to get into my workout 6 days a week, even following post show. And I'm not even competing. And, sometimes people may, when they first sign up for something, feeling like they have to go all or nothing, but like, hey, life's going to happen. And so I'm going to mix the solutions in with this. So the way you can do that is making sure, like when I was on my journey and working out 6 to 7 days a week, you better bet that there were so many days inside of that routine that I was so tired and I had no energy to work out. But because I had this all or nothing mentality at the beginning, I didn't highlight the importance of rest days or listening to my body and allowing myself to have a flexible routine, which is exactly what I do now. So knowing that, like when you sign up for a new workout routine, right? You do not have to follow it strictly. Better yet, I would always highly recommend that you can't go from 0 to 100. So like if you go from 0 workouts in a week to 6 days a week working out, you are likely to fail at doing that. You're setting yourself up from failure at that point. You need to be honest with yourself at starting your fitness journey and going from 0 to like 2 days a week. And then after 2 weeks of doing that, you'll realize, okay, I'm getting into a solid routine. I'm building new habits. Like I'm showing up for myself 2 out of the 7 days of the week, working out. Now I can add on a day. And so it's a gradual buildup rather than like a 0 to 100 moment. And then knowing when you get to like a 4-day workout routine, which is exactly what I do now, knowing that the 3 out of the 7 days of the week that you're supposed to take rest days, you actually take the rest days. And, not feeling like you have to show up every single day of the week, which a lot of people are like, how do I get, rest days? How do I get okay with rest days? It's like you have to take them and you have to follow through on that action for yourself and like get your body used to you actually doing it. And it can be an active rest day. It can be that you're getting, your steps in, or you're going for a hike, or you're going for a walk outside, or you're doing like active recovery, like stretching. Those can be things that you incorporate in if you're somebody that cannot totally adapt to a, rest, like a full-on rest day. Okay. But that is how you get more of a balanced approach for yourself and allow more flexibility into your routine rather than going from 0 to 100 and then feeling like you have to follow everything to a T every single week of the year. You don't need to do that. And then when I say that, meaning you have to follow a plan that you sign up for, but like life will happen. You will get sick, you will travel, all of the things. And so maybe, 5-7 weeks out of the year, you don't follow the routine to a T, maybe even more than that. It's okay because the other 47 days of the week, 45 days of the week, you're still, or 45 days of the year, you're still consistent. So you're a consistent majority of the time. Okay. And you're still winning at that point, right? Do that math, whatever that is percentage wise, you're still winning at that point. You're still going to get to the goals that you want. So like accepting this for yourself is a big thing that you must do rather than going all or nothing, 0 to 100 and killing yourself in the first 4 weeks of you starting a new workout routine. You're destined to give up at that point. Another one is extreme dieting. So a lot of people feel like, okay, they aren't happy with where they're at and what they're experiencing with their body. And the self-confidence and just feeling like blah and like they have no low energy and they're like, I must eat healthy. And so they go from 0 to 100 to following a strict diet, clean eating, no room for deviation. And if you indulge in a treat in your first 2 weeks, you may feel like you have failed. And this is going to lead to an unhealthy cycle of restricting foods and binging. So if that is you, all or nothing, you are here and you go 0 to 100 in your first 2 weeks, yes, you may feel like because you're not going to be able to keep up with that. It's like, okay, same thing with the concept of working out. I am not eating healthy, so I'm going to focus on at least maybe 3 out of the 7 days of the week, I start to eat better and I make better food choices. And you do that for 2 to 3 weeks. And then it's like, okay, I add on another day and I add on another day. That is you building habits. That is how you create. And then most importantly, while you're doing that, you still allow yourself to have the foods that you enjoy. This is why I love macronutrients, tracking macronutrients, understanding the macronutrient world. It is not another diet. It is a skill set that will serve you for the rest of your life. And because I track macronutrients, I am able to keep the foods that I love into my routine, which allows me to have a more sustainable eating habit, sustainable eating routine. So from bodybuilding, all or nothing, right, mentality, 3 years eating egg whites, chicken and broccoli, ground beef and rice, tilapia and cod, vegetables, okay, going from that to like the pain that I felt in that experience of like, this sucks. I hate this food. It felt like chalk at points. I was eating it cold at points. Actually, majority of the time I was eating it cold. Dude, like it just gives me chills thinking about that. But like also I'm grateful for the experience because I can speak to it now. But like at one point I was like, dude, this cannot be the way. And I need to figure out a way that is more sustainable and realistic to my lifestyle because I love food. I love treats. I love sweets. So like how I know that there's people that can do that and live sustainably and still get results they want. So how do they do that? And that is how I found macronutrients. Until this day, this is the scientifically most proven method to help you to live a balanced lifestyle and get the results that you want, eating the foods you enjoy, still getting the body composition, all of the things. Until you prove me wrong, until something comes out, macronutrients is the way. And that is how you can, and look, I hear all the time that's macronutrients is so hard, it's so time consuming. Yo, it's better than what you're doing right now, right? Okay? Or like, what's the worst case scenario to you tracking macros and learning macronutrients? What's the worst case scenario? Just think about that for a second. There's not many that come to mind other than like the time that it takes to learn the skill set, which is how anything that you learn that's new is going to go down. So that's about the diet extremes, right? And then like, not to mention the all-in trends, right? Like jumping into something that's trendy, that's out there, that's like, you know, says you're going to get to X result, but you don't consider their sustainability or potential health impacts, right? And so once you experience that and then you end up abandoning them abruptly because of this setback, right? And then you think that it's like, oh, I'm a failure. I have self-doubt. I'm never going to be able to keep up to anything. So that's in the diet world. Now let's talk about social and self-isolation, because I think it's really important to, like with my journey, how I was talking about this friend group, right? Like, you know, this is how they live their lifestyle. Like some of them were in the fitness, some of them weren't, but it was very like low minimal fitness. We're like, I'm on this extreme of bodybuilding and I have to eat this way and to train this way and I can't have alcohol and like I need to go to bed because I need sleep for recovery. And like these guys are over here. And then like I have people worried about me because I'm eating this and I'm not showing up the way that I used to. And like all of these things. Okay. Look, it is so, if the value of you making gradual changes to your environment that is in support of the goals that you want is very important. However, like black or white, like, sorry, I can't hang out with you. You guys suck because you live this lifestyle is not recommended. That's all or nothing. These all approaches are very similar in a respect of how you would approach it to make it more sustainable for yourself, right? So the same way with diet and working out is like, okay, guys, I have this goal, and just being like honest and upfront of like what you're working towards for yourself and how you want to shift things for yourself and how you want to like lead a different lifestyle. It's like, hey guys, I'm doing this. I can't participate in this. You're going to have people chitter chatter, say all the things. Just keep in mind, most importantly with this bucket is like everybody has their own opinions. Everybody is living their own, through their own limiting stories, their own beliefs. They're all these things. Like they see you doing things and they're like, but I'm not doing it. So I need to say these things to her. That's going to make her stop because it'll make me more comfortable. Okay. So like, know that that's all the things that they're saying that are in a negative, in a non-supportive way is because they're not doing those things. So you need to like create a bubble around you and just be like, okay, like I recognize that she's saying that because she's not doing those things, but it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with her. So I'm going to just kind of keep my distance from that person and still show up for myself in the way that I want to show myself and the goals that I'm going after. And then as time unfolds, you will recognize who supports you and who doesn't support you. And so, that will take time to unfold, first of all. And then sometimes those people just kind of fall away. And then the ones that do support you, you know who your real friends are. And then you know who to surround yourself with. So, a supportive environment can either support your journey or derail your journey. It all comes down to like your perspective on the situation and how you handle the situation and your awareness of your surroundings, the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And then naturally, you guys, as you embark on your journey, your goals, what you're striving for, like this other side of things, you're going to attract more people that are in alignment with those goals that, you can create new friendships with. It's pretty dope. All right. So that basically, I don't think I have any really much more of how to like feed into the all or nothing mindset. I think I talked on the diet, I talked on the social situations, I talked on exercise, like the way that you get to more of a balanced lifestyle, which I lead now and live now, is honestly like recognizing, it was only like a year and a half ago that I recognized that like, dude, I live this way, but I want this way. So like just have to take the actionable habits, right? Embed new habits that support the new way of living that you want. So like I knew that this was an all or nothing after looking back. An all or nothing mindset, it served its purpose. It was great. I left undefeated in the world of bodybuilding. But like I felt a lot of pain in that, and I didn't like the cons of what that lifestyle gave me. And I knew that there was a better way because I see people living that way. So it's like, then it's just like making these gradual shifts for yourself that are more in alignment with the lifestyle that you want to have. Being okay with rest days is extremely important. Being okay with allowing yourself to have occasional treats, ice cream, donuts, candy. I have candy. I dove chocolate every single night at the end of my night. Allowing yourself to have those things. It's not going to derail your progress. Okay. What's going to derail your progress is continuing into this all or nothing mindset. So, and then habit forming. You have to form new habits. You have to form habits that are supporting you, right? So it's like you're in an all or nothing mindset. Well, if you're working backwards from that, it's like allow yourself the 2 rest days, right? If you're 7 days a week, allow yourself 1 rest day, and then reverse of what I said earlier. It's like, okay, so I'm working out 7 days a week. I want to incorporate this, the balanced. So I'm going to allow myself one active rest day. Then you do that for 2 weeks. Then you add another one, and then you add in another one, and you're at 4 days. And then you occasionally allow yourself, if you're following something strictly, it's like, okay, I'm going to allow myself just 1 day of untracked and see how that feels. And then recognize that like, oh snap, it didn't derail my progress. I still am getting the results that I want. So like, then you're going to allow yourself to incorporate some treats here and there throughout the week. And you're like, oh snap. And the most important thing though is control. You're in the control. So you have the ability to either lean one way or the other. So it's like, if you then, allow yourself a couple of treats, well, don't go down the rabbit hole of like the whole week is all treats, because that's an all or nothing mindset. So it's like finding the balance of this lifestyle and how it supports you the best, you guys. All right. Man, that was one of my favorite podcasts I recorded so far. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please screenshot this, tag me, upload it to Instagram. I love seeing the feedback that you guys have with this podcast. And I appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Real quick, the only ask I could ever have of you guys is to help spread the word so we can help more women lose body fat, build muscle, reach their goals, and feel insanely confident. And the only way we can do that is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing I ask for you to do is if you could leave a review. It will take you 10 seconds, and it will mean the absolute world to me and may change the world of someone else.